welcome to the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, a.k.a. BlenderEd, Blender HD, if you want to follow me on Twitter. And it's Friday, March 3rd, and you know what we do on Fridays? We fight with each other. Okay, maybe not with each other, but we fight. We fight a bunch. It's Fighting Fridays. Talking about the MMA card, the UFC pay-per-view, UFC, whatever the hell number it is. I don't know why. Why do they continue with numbers? It's UFC 285, 2 something, whatever. What does it matter? It's a pay-per-view card coming up tomorrow featuring 2 title fights, 14 fights on the card. So it's a big card. And we got the heavyweight championship of the world, the vacant heavyweight championship, because the UFC does not want to pay Francis Ngannou, so they stripped him. So you'll have John Jones returning to the octagon after 3 years against Cyril Gane, as well as Valentina Shevchenko defending her 125 title against Alexa Grasso. And we'll be talking about that, the context of the slate, some strategy. If you want to get a breakdown of the fights, listen to Liam and Mike, okay? They do the Ground and Pound podcast. That's a premium podcast. They also do the expert survey. Liam does the breakdowns and picks for the fights and everything. So sign up to RotoGrinders Premium. Get the combo premium. Get NBA, get MLB, get PGA, get college basketball, get all the projections. Soccer's tomorrow also, right? EPL, we got EPL tomorrow as well. Go pick that up. Click on the link in the description. Get $10 off your first month. You'll get Lineup HQ. You'll get all the projections. You'll get everything. So do that. Listen to the breakdown of the fights, because I focus more on the DFS strategy of the slate and less so on necessarily the stylistic matchups of these fights. But before we go over that, give me those thumbs. It helps us out. This is free content. This is like our only free MMA content. So hit that thumbs up button. Hit the like button. Hit the notification bell. Smash the like button. You got to smash it. That's what I see YouTubers say. You got to smash it. Smash the like button. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here. Pump it up. That's right. Pump up. Pump up the thumbs. Pump it up. Pump it up. Whatever that song is, right? Isn't that an old song? Pump it up. Or something. It's something like that. It's some dance song, right? We got Wata Suki Singh is here. Of course, the early birds. Andrew Garcia, Chris Jones, Defic. George St. Pierre is not on the card, Chris Jones. No, he's the GOAT, but he's not on this card. But who is on this card? Okay. When we're breaking down a DFS, the DFS strategy for an MMA slate, that we have to understand the context. Before you start building lineups, if you're going to go through lineup construction, understand the likelihood of what the nut lineup is going to look like. Because obviously, with a limited amount of options, especially in large field GPP, we're looking for the nut lineup, the best possible lineup for the slate. The 6 winners, most likely, the 6 fighters that combined together is the highest possible score. And in smaller field stuff, you may not need the nut lineup to win, but you're pretty much aiming for it. So we got 14 fights on the card. The 2 main things when it comes to the context of a card, as far as lineup construction is concerned, for the nut lineup, is the size of the card and then the disparity between the fighters. Okay, I'm giving you the 2 thumbs, so hit the thumbs up button as I do that. Okay, so on a large card compared to a small card, so we have a 14 fight card. Now compare that to a 10 or 11 fight card. Now, in a 14 fight card, there's more opportunity, more fighters to choose from, which means more likelihood that the highest scoring fighters, I know it sounds weird to say, more likely that the higher scoring fighters make the nut lineup. And it's like, well, obviously the higher scoring lineups make the highest scoring fighters make the nut lineup. It's like, yeah, the higher ceiling fighters. Okay, so like if you're on like a 10, let's say a 10 fight card, well, you need 6. We pretty much need 6 winners. So it's quite possible that a guy that gets 86 points for 8,200 makes the nut lineup, right? On a 10 fight card, because there aren't that many fighters to choose from. Now there's 4 more fights. Now there's 8 more fighters. It's more and more likely that you should be aiming for 100 points in your wins. right? Playing a 10-fight card, getting 6 winners is good. If you can just get 6 winners, you're going to be close to the nut lineup. On a 14-fight card, 6 winners alone, if you get 6 fighters that all score 85, you may not be, you probably won't be good when a bunch of them score 100 as well. Okay, so on a larger card, you're going to prioritize ceiling more than win probability. Okay, so even though there may be some underdogs that, we'll get into the disparity, there's some underdogs that don't have the best win probability but have better ceiling outcomes. And the same thing for some of the favorite fighters, where, getting an 8K fighter in the mid-range that scores like 78 points, that's not going to be very useful to you, right? Looking for the nut lineup. On a smaller card, maybe that works. On a larger card, it's less likely to work. And then you have to look at the disparity of fighters, because DraftKings will price the fighters based on their money lines pretty linearly from slate to slate, right? You have the 9K fighters are the biggest favorites. The mid 8Ks are like the mid 2 to 1s, 1.5 to 1s, and then towards the middle is like the pick'ems. But they'll price it like that no matter what the money line odds are. We have slates where the highest priced fighter is still only a minus 220 favorite. That's the biggest favorite on the slate, a 2 to 1 favorite, 3 to 1 favorite. There are also slates where the 9K fighters are like 5 to 1 favorites, 6 to 1 favorites. When we get there are mid-range fighters that are still 3 to 1 favorites. Big disparities between the favorites and the underdogs. Now, in the context of a slate where the fighters are big disparities between the fighters, well, that means it's less likely that underdogs win, right? Less underdogs are likely to win. I'm not saying, hey, on this slate, 8 underdogs could win, right? But it's less likely. Okay, so as the disparity of the fighters gets wider and wider, the more and more likely that the winning lineup, the nut lineup, is going to spend most, if not all, of the salary. You're going to get 9K fighters that put up 120 plus points. You're going to find the one dog that may put up 100, and that's it. There you go. You may only have 1 or 2 underdogs that win on the entire slate. So just getting an underdog winner and the highest scoring, 4 favorites, that's what the nut lineup is more likely to look like on a slate where the disparity between fighters is large. The disparity between fighters is small. If the highest price fighter is only a 2 to 1 favorite, right? And you have 6 mid-range fights that are nearly pick 'em. Well, it's quite possible. Then underdogs are more likely than underdogs win, right? You may get 4 or 5 underdogs winning, and some of them maybe even putting up more than 100 points. So in a slate like that, where the disparity of fighters is smaller, the nut lineup is more and more likely to leave money on the table. Now, it's still more likely that it spends most of the money, but on a slate where the fights are quite even, a 48K lineup, a 48.5 lineup, has a decent amount of first place equity. On a slate like tomorrow, where we take a look at my odd sheet right here, I mean, let's take a look at these odds. I mean, Bo Nickel at 9,600 is minus 1,700. Now, these are the odds from 2 days ago, and I know some of them have moved a little bit. Bo Nickel, minus 1,700. Valentina Shevchenko, minus 750. Ian Gary, minus 700. Rachmanov, minus 500. Basharat, minus 460. Then we have I can't even pronounce his name, Loic Radzhabov. We have Radzhabov, Ricci, Simon. Those are all 3 to 1 favorites. Duplessis and Gamrot are 2 to 1 favorites. Until you get to Garbrandt in the $8,500 range, you don't get to a 63% win percentage. I mean, look, 8,600 and above is kind of 70% win percentage and above, right? 70 to 94% win probability. And this is disregarding even the ITD lines. It's so much more likely that not many underdogs on this slate will win. And with the disparity between the fights, a 7 to 1 favorite is more likely to destroy the underdog, right? So we're going to probably see Bo Nickel minus 510 inside the distance. Shevchenko, minus 135 inside the distance. Ian Gary, minus 175 inside the distance. Rachmanov, minus 160 inside the distance. Duplessis, minus 110. Simon, plus 145. Radzhabov, plus 140. Basharat, plus 180. Right, and we also have a lot of guys on this, a lot of fighters on this card that are grappling oriented, so that just increases the ceiling of some of these fights. So, I mean, if you're looking, I'm going to make a lineup at least 1,500 on the table. Like, good luck to you. Good luck. That's going to be a very low probability. I'm not saying it can't happen, but it's much more likely that some of these 9K fighters smash, and just having the right combination of the right fighters with the one dog that does well or two dogs that win. And in these types of slates, even the underdogs, like I prioritize winning. So like either you're prioritizing ceiling or winning. Right? If you're prioritizing one of the two, I think you're fine. In the middle, maybe not so much. So this is the context of a slate. Like this is before we even look at the fights and what the ownership is and everything like that. Just we have a lot of 9K guys. I mean, even down to like Cameron Simon is 8,800 and over a 3-1 favorite. Duplessis. I mean, we have slates where Duplessis minus 230 money line, minus 110 inside the distance. He would be like the $9,400 fighter. Right? It would be like that. But on this slate, no. This slate, he's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I mean, it's like he's the 7th or 8th biggest favorite instead of being like the 1st or 2nd biggest favorite. So how does that affect lineup construction? Well, I mean, you have Bo Nickel, who is a ridiculous favorite. Like I think if you're going to build for cash games, I think some people may try to double stack the two main events, the two title fights, and then it's going to get very easy, right? If you do something like that, Gane, Jones, right? I think there'll be people that have this lineup. This is for cash games. You would never do this in GPPs. Nickel, Shevchenko, right? Shevchenko, Grasso, Gane, Jones, and then you have Nickel and Araujo, Viviane Araujo in the Ribas Araujo fight, the $8,300, $7,900 fight. Just understand, obviously, that you pretty much need, I mean, Nickel, I can't see Nickel losing. Just a matter of how many points he scores. And then Araujo winning. And then you're pretty much fine. Shevchenko, Grasso, I mean, that's more likely to go like 3, 4, 5 rounds. Even the Gane Jones, like these two title fights are actually favored to go the distance, which is good for I mean point scoring. But I think there are a lot of high priced fighters on the slate that totally could destroy. So like this is from a cash perspective. I think a lot of people are going to build, like if they build with the main event in mind, if they're going to double the main event, right? They're going to play like Shevchenko and Cyril Gane or something like that, or Shevchenko and Jones. Like these Shevchenko Jones lineups are very hard to really get Bo Nickel in, unless you play one of the big underdogs. You play like Jeff Neal or Esteban Ribovics or something like that. Like if you did that, right? His average remaining player salary is 7,700. Like if you try to get Bo Nickel in these types of lineups, I mean, you're gonna have to go down to like Derek Brunson and then Araujo or something like that. Like in order to get like Shevchenko and Nickel together, and Jones or Gane or something, those are the only two 9K fighters you're playing. I mean, you're not gonna be able to do anything else. And I'm not sure how many underdogs win on this slate. So these Nickel Shevchenko lineups, to me, I mean, it's really hard. It's going to be hard to get different with Nickel Shevchenko because, I mean, your average, unless you're going for like, the Song Kanan beats Ian Gary or something, one of the really big underdogs. I mean, I guess it's doable, but that's kind of what you'd need to do. And then I think the Jones, see, the thing about these two championship fights is that based on the context of the slate, here's a hot take. It's not really a hot take because it has nothing to do with like the fights. if we look back at all the slates, okay, just to give you the, I don't like being like trend oriented, but if you look back at all of the UFC DFS slates on DraftKings that have 2 5-round fights, okay, and then what makes the nut lineup? More often than not, more than 50% of the time, it's one of the main, not 2, but 1. Then the second most likely is 2. Then the third most likely is 0. Okay, so there's been a whole ton. There's been, let's just say, there's 15. I mean, I've looked at it. Like 15 cards with 2 5-round fights. Like 10 of those, like 9, probably like 9 of those 15, one main event, 1 5-round fighter was in the nut lineup. And then like 5 were 2 main event fighters or 5-round fighters in the nut lineup, and 1 was neither. Maybe it's a hot take, but I think this is one of the slates where neither make the nut lineup. Now, if you're playing small field GPP, like, okay, you don't necessarily need to make the nut lineup. But if you just take a look at the style of fights and the pricing. So the easy one is Shevchenko. Okay? Shevchenko wins with a 3rd-round submission, and Grasso keeps first and second round on the feet decently enough. Shevchenko scores like 88 points, 85 points. At 9,400, ain't gonna be optimal, right? Now Shevchenko could go out and dominate Grasso and wrestle her to the ground for 4 minutes of control for 4 rounds, or all 5 rounds, and put up 130 points, 140 points. Yeah, that's possible also. But if this stays on its feet, the fight stays on its feet enough, and Shevchenko even gets a finish in the 2nd or 3rd round, I'm not even sure that it pays off 9,400. Now, obviously, if Grasso wins at 6,800, I mean, probably going to be optimal, right? At 6,800, what win? Oh, it's 70-point decision win, maybe fine. I'm not sure there would be a 70-point decision win. But Shevchenko, there are many paths for Shevchenko to not be optimal. Still, there are paths for Valentina to put up 105, 110 points and not be optimal, right? She puts up 110, but like Basharat puts up 115 and Nickel puts up 140. Rachmanov could put up 110 for cheaper. Ian Gary can knock Keenan Song out. A quick win bonus, 125. Duplessis that's a quick win. That is a quick win bonus. Cameron Simon could wrestle Mana Martinez to the ground for 3 rounds and put up 120 points. It's not a matter of does Shevchenko do well. It's just that there's a lot of Gamrot. Gamrot could have 10 takedowns against Jalen Turner. Who knows? Look, Ricci Penny fight. That's probably going to be a grappling fight also. I'm not sure if either of them gets a finish. But there's just a lot of fighters. Look how many fighters are wrestlers on the slate. Nickel, obviously. One of, if not the best collegiate wrestler ever. Rachmanov, he's a grappler. Basharat, grappler. Radzhabov, grappler. Ricci, grappler. Simon's kind of in the middle. He's just aggressive. Duplessis isn't. But he can, I guess. I mean, it's probably if the fight's on the ground, probably Derek Brunson is winning the fight. Gamrot's a grappler. Cody Garbrandt should wrestle against Trevin Jones. If he has no chin, he better wrestle. John Jones better wrestle, but who knows? Who knows what John Jones does? Ribas, Arua are both. I mean, these are all even like Barrio and Marquez. There may be some grappling there, maybe not as much as some other fights, but I don't think that's completely a stand-up affair. I think the only pure striking matchup is Ian Gary, Keenan Song, but I mean that could end up on the mat also. So there's a lot of opportunity for fighters to score a lot of points. And if Valentina Shevchenko is going to be 40+% owned, okay, she puts up 100 points. That may not be good enough. I mean, it may be good enough to win your small field GP. Yeah, okay, you got 100 points. I'm not saying that's bad. But if you're playing large field GPP, I mean, that may not be optimal. And then we have the John Jones Cyril Gane fight. Now, The thing about the John Jones Cyril Gahn fight is that it's cheaper. It's 8,400, 7,800. The problem here is that I don't know what the ceilings are on these fighters. If you told me that John Jones was going to come out and wrestle effectively, then I think John Jones is the favorite. And I'd much rather play John Jones, but I'm not sure. I mean, that's what he should do, right? But I mean, even 3 years, the fights that John Jones had 3 years ago weren't particularly impressive. And now he's moving up a weight class. And it's not like he's facing a bum. Cyril Gahn's a great fighter. But of course, like if on the feet, like John Jones, I don't think John Jones knocks Cyril Gahn out. I think John Jones is much better off trying to take him down because we've seen that Cyril Gahn is not necessarily the best on the bottom. So this fight I think, it's favored to go to the distance. It's favored to go to decision. How many points do these fighters score? Even in a decision? Like if Cyril Gahn, if it's a stand-up fight with no knockdowns, what? How many strikes is Gahn going to have? Maybe he scores 80. Right? 7,800, that isn't horrible for 80, right? Because not many underdogs are probably going to win on this card. What's John Jones going to score in a decision win? What, about the same? Maybe a little bit more because he tries to wrestle more. So, like, I see the ceiling of the Jones-Gahn fight to be much lower. The only benefit is that it's also cheaper. It's 8,400, 7,800. But I also think it's going to be very popular. I think, 60, 65% of total ownership is going to be on this fight. I think Jones is going to be more popular than Gahn from an ownership perspective. I think because of those two reasons that it's quite easy to see John Jones. What happens if John Jones does wrestle him and submit Cyril Gahn in the third round? Okay, great. He scored 83 points or something like that. At 8,400, like, dude, Julian Marquez could knock out Marc-Andre Barrios in the first round. I mean, like, Viriano Arajo could have a 3-round decision with 5 takedowns and a bunch of control time and end up outscoring both of them and have 95 points. Right? You have Garbrandt, Gamrot, Duplessis, Simon. You got all these other guys. Jalen Turner could knock Gamrot out. Brunson could wrestle Duplessis for 3 rounds. Mana Martinez, Simon is kind of a bit reckless. Mana Martinez could just, Simon comes in, over-aggressive, and then Mana Martinez knocks him out in the first round. Jessica Penne ties up a submission against Ricci. I mean, there's just so many fighters on the slate. Trevin Jones, just Cody Garbrandt, right? Cody Garbrandt, no chin. Garbrandt comes in. Trevin Jones, 1 punch, 1-hitter quitter, which I'm not sure if he has that much power, but I mean, whatever. He's better. He only throws like 2 strikes a minute. Garbrandt gets knocked down. It just seems that there's just so many fighters around here that unless there's an early finish in the Gahn Jones fight, or there's a lot of action, especially if Jones like wrestles, it's hard to see that it's worth the ownership. All these other fights are so much lower owned than the main event. I think the Shevchenko-Grasso fight is more, it's not a matter of, can Grasso win? I guess so. I mean, I thought Talia Santos beat Shevchenko. I mean, it was close enough, but I think Talia Santos deserved against Shevchenko in the last fight. But I don't think Grasso beat Shevchenko. I just, like, you have to be an elite striker. I mean, and once Grasso goes to the ground, she's pretty much dead. So to me, it's not a matter of does Valentina win. It's a matter of how many points does she score. I mean, the same thing with Bo Nickel, right? Bo Nickel is going to come down to does he get the quick win bonus or not, right? Because the under like 1.5 in this is like minus 300 or something. But he's 9,600. So like, dude, if he takes him down twice and submits him and scores 107 points, like that ain't good for 9,600 for the nut lineup. So even Nickel may be over. I don't know how he may not be over-owned because he's just so expensive that it's going to be hard for you to fit in. People are going to want to play Nickel Shevchenko, and it's really tough to do that. And the people that do are going to be just funnel to very similar lineups. So me, I'm looking more to, like, I would see a lineup, like, based on my metrics here, right? Maybe if you don't play the main event, either 5-round fight, which is scary to do. I'm telling you, it is scary to do. So let's say you play Bo Nickel, right? And you want to kind of, maybe you're avoiding some of these underdogs. So maybe the lowest underdog. Maybe you play Derek Brunson against leverage against, because Duplessis' ownership should be high because his ITD line is good for his price. So let's say you play Derek Brunson and hope to God that he doesn't wear out after 5 minutes and doesn't get it. He comes in for a takedown with his chin up and he doesn't get clocked. Right, so now you have 82-25. Right, you're trying to maybe play Araujo here. Nickel, Brunson, Araujo. You got 83-33. It's still tough to get to these 9K fighters. Right, when you're playing Bo Nickel. Right, 83-33. I mean, it's just like, who are you playing down here? I mean, play Marquez. I mean, what can you get there? 8,500. Right, you could. It's still very. Look, I'm trying to even get in the mid range, and it's hard to build lineups with Bo Nickel and get another 9K fighter. Right, even if we took like someone like Basharat or Radzabov or someone like that. Right, if we took like Fareed Basharat. Right, 79-33. I mean, I almost don't want to touch some of these underdogs. I'm going to take Penne against. Well, Penny's my girl. I won 120,000 on her. So maybe we throw Jessica Penne in. And you still have 82.50. I mean, it's still really tough. Even if you put Araujo there and then 8,600 for Gamrot, I mean, I guess this is doable. Like, these are the types, I guess, like, these are the types of lineups that I'd be leaning towards. And hey, if you want to take out Bo Nickel and put in Shevchenko instead, if you want to play, you know, a Gon instead of Araujo, okay, you'll more likely to be a little bit more duplicated. But I'll be looking more towards these types of lineups. It's quite possible. I'm playing 9 lineups tomorrow. It's quite possible that none. See, the thing. It's quite possible none of my lineups have Valentina in it. But it's possible that I may have some Cyril Gane only because of price. Like, that's, you know, like, it's not. I'd rather just fade the main event. But I think at the price, like, I could see myself getting to Cyril Gane. Maybe not John Jones. Maybe I play Ribas or Garbrandt or someone like that instead. But down in the, if I need a 7, like, do I want Araujo in all my lineups? Maybe not. Do I want Trevin Jones and his lack of volume? Maybe I'm more likely to play Jalen Turner or Derek Brunson. I mean, these underdogs are not very good. I mean, once you get down to the bottom, I mean, like, good luck, Jamie Pickett. Good luck, Song Kanan. Jeff Neal is a name, but I think Rachmaninoff takes care of him fairly easily. Damon Blackshear has no cardio. Esteban Ribovics is he's a newcomer. Right? I guess he's a power puncher, but if he's going to be owned, do I want to have $7,200 guy? I mean, what's his odds? Plus 220. I mean, he has a decent inside the distance line, right? Plus 320. But it's going to come based on like a first round knockout or bust kind of fighter. Maybe I play him. I don't know. But it's hard to build lineups. I want to build lineups, if I can, with 2 9K fighters that people are less likely to play. That combination, right? Even without Nickel, right? You play a lineup with like Basharat, Radzabov, like that type of lineup. With no main event, right? You don't play Simon or Duplessis. Maybe you play Brunson. Like, this is the ultra leverage, right? You play Brunson there against a popular Duplessis, and maybe you play against Simon also. You play Mana Martinez, leverage against Simon. You still got 8,500 here, right? You can still play an Araujo and then 9,100. Maybe you don't play Araujo. You play Trevin Jones, play Julian Marquez. 9,000 left. Play Tabitha Ricci. No, I guess you could do that. Play MAB. 8,800. I mean, you could do something like this. Like Gamrot against Turner or something. Or you play Turner. Play Turner down here, and then you play. You can play. This is a Shevchenko lineup. I can see him playing a lineup like this with Shevchenko, 50K lineup. Shevchenko, Basharat, Radzhabov, Brunson, Turner, Martinez. You could do some. I mean, these 3 9K lineups. It's just that the underdogs, like 3 underdog winners on the slate. I'm not sure. I think the most likely outcome is 2 dogs win on this slate. Right, so if I'm going to play underdogs, maybe only play 2 of them. Having 3 9K fighters and 3 7K fighters, I'm not sure if that. I mean, yeah, it could work out, but I think it's a little less likely. IO22 says I like Loic at 9,000 at low ownership. No, yeah, I mean, Loic, Basharat, Rachmanov. I mean, like, I think everyone in between Gary and Ricci is going to be lower owned. I think Rachmanov may be the highest owned out of that bunch. But yeah, I mean, I think that they both have high. I mean, these are wrestlers. These guys have 100+ point ceilings. Daniel Hutchings says if you have a lineup without Bo, you're mostly just betting that the optimal can't fit him in with the salary. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, I kind of said the same thing with Shevchenko as well. Like Bo Nickel is, I mean, it's come on. His implied probability of winning inside the distance is 84%, with the VIG attached to it. In the first, he's minus 195 first round odds. Okay, 66%, including the VIG. So it just comes down to, essentially, does Bo Nickel put up enough points that he fits in the optimal lineup? But with all these wrestlers underneath, with Shevchenko and Rachmanov and Basharat and Radzhabov and Simon and Duplessis and Gamrot, and I mean, like, it feels like Bo Nickel could put up 120 points, 120, and not make the optimal, only because there are 2 people underneath him that put up 125 or 100 or put up 118 and just don't, and then are 600 cheaper, right? Bo Nickel puts up 120 at 9,600, but Radzhabov puts up 118 at 9,000. And even though Bo Nickel is like the 3rd highest scoring fighter on the slate, actually you can't fit him in. Doesn't matter. You couldn't even fit him in anyway. That's really what it comes down to. But for his odds, I mean, he's the highest ceiling and the highest floor on the slate. But I mean, you're paying for it. So you got any questions about the UFC slate? Post them in the YouTube chat. I'll be updating this. We'll be updating our ownership and everything on Lineup HQ. Moneyball takes care of that. They'll have the expert survey up and the Ground and Pound podcast for premium members. What are your thoughts? I mean, I think this is a pretty good card. I actually think this is a pretty good card, entertainment-wise, as well as from a DFS perspective. But if you have the balls, I think I think a lineup with no 5-round fights in it is going to be lower owned for its probability of being the nut lineup. I think if you have the balls, you would play a lineup with neither 5-round fight in it. Does that mean it wins? No, I just think that it would be a plus EV move. I think that if I were to build 150 lineups and I had the balls, I'd X out both 5-round fights, and then just build 50K, 49 8+ lineups of all of them, like that. And then if John Jones comes out and decides to wrestle and looks good and ends up with 105 points for 8,400, then you just lose all your money, right? If Shevchenko goes and puts up 135 points, you're dead. I think compared to the ownership, I think there's more more than better chance on this specific card with these specific fighters that we have fighters that could beat out Nickel and Shevchenko and Jones and Gane. There's people. Gamrot could put up 130 points on his own at 8,600. He'll chain wrestle Jalen. I mean, he get 12 takedowns, 10 minutes of control time, and he wins in a decision. There you go. You're done. Because even at these price range, Duplessis could get a quick win bonus over Derek Brunson. Cameron Simon could completely destroy Manny Martinez. I mean, it's just so many ways for people that are underneath Nickel and Shevchenko to score a lot more points than them. Other cards, I wouldn't say that. Other cards, I look at these fighters and go, what are these guys going to do? What's Jeff Molina going to do? I mean, like, nothing. But on this card, I think people are going to be attracted to playing one of Nickel or Shevchenko and then one of Simon or Duplessis, right? Play Jones or Gane in their lineup. Pick one of these underdogs, and then you're like Ribovic or something, and there you go. That's going to be duplicated. So that's my thoughts. My thoughts on the UFC card. UFC, whatever the number it is. Whatever number it is. 285? I think it's 285. I think so. I don't keep track. I don't keep track of the numbers. But if you want more, obviously, sign up for RotoGrinders Premium. Combo Premium. Get everything, right? We got baseball coming back. Don't you want baseball, MLB, college basketball, XFL? I mean, look, we got everything. What have we got in here, right? NBA, NHL, soccer, NASCAR, LOL, college basketball, tennis, golf, Madden Sims. You want Madden Sims projections on DK? Come here, Combo Premium. Click on the link in the description. Get $10 off your first month. I'll be playing 9 lineups tomorrow in this UFC card. I'll be playing EPL soccer. We got projections for that as well tomorrow morning. So hopefully I have good luck tomorrow. Send in your questions. If you have a topic, DFS strategy topic that you'd like to discuss, you have questions about, you could always email them in. questions@theoryofdfs.com. They do shape the shows I do throughout the week. So send them in, and I will cover it. I will answer anything that you would like. That's what I do here. Monday through Friday, 11 o'clock Eastern, on the DFS pregame show on RotoGrinders.com.